Okay, so you think a crypto transaction goes straight to the blockchain the exact second you hit confirm, right? Well, it doesn't. Before your trade is ever actually finalized, it has to travel through a massive, invisible global infrastructure that most users never even see. Imagine hitting that button and time just freezes. Beneath that dark user interface, you've got this wild, hidden ecosystem. We're talking wallet gateways, RPC providers, mempools, validators, block builders, relays, hidden auctions, and automated trading systems that are literally competing in milliseconds. Your transaction gets broadcast across networks, analyzed by bots, prioritized through crazy fee markets, and routed through layers upon layers of infrastructure before it ever reaches a block. And the deeper you look into it, the stranger the whole system becomes, because beneath the grand idea of decentralization exists an entire hidden architecture, quietly coordinating the movement of trillions of dollars in digital assets every single day. The blockchain, that's really only the surface. The real system exists underneath it. Before we dive any deeper into this explainer, a quick professional note. This video on the channel Blocks Bonds Funds is created for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial or investment advice.
All right, with that out of the way, let's tackle a massive question. Where does your transaction actually go? When you submit a trade, it doesn't just magically appear on some public ledger. It enters a labyrinth, and we are going to trace that exact journey. First things first, we've got to redefine what we're actually doing here. We usually think of a transaction as just sending money, right? But technically speaking, it's a cryptographically signed computational request. You're broadcasting an instruction, complete with nonces, gas limits, and cryptographic signatures, to alter the decentralized state of what is essentially a planetary organism. It's a line of code demanding execution. But here's the catch. Your wallet software can't just talk to that planetary organism all on its own. It needs a translator. Enter the RPC node, or remote procedure call. This is the hidden API gateway connecting your wallet to the blockchain. Because running a full synchronized node yourself is super resource intensive. Most developers and wallets rely on these RPC providers to read the network state and submit your signed transactions for you. They are the absolutely crucial, yet completely invisible, first gatekeepers. And this kind of pulls back the curtain on the corporate reality of our so-called decentralized web. When we look at the major infrastructure providers, we see a heavy reliance on just a few key players. Giants like Infura and Alchemy accept fiat payments and support around 11 to 13 chains. Then you have alternative options out there like DRPC, which accepts crypto payments, supports 50 chains, and even offers AI-driven load balancing and front-running protection. But the core takeaway here is that your gateway to decentralization is actually heavily mediated by massive centralized infrastructure providers. Okay, so once your transaction makes it through that RPC gateway, it enters what we call the gossip network. Think of this as a planetary peer-to-peer communication organism. Using protocols like DevP2P, your transaction is broadcast or literally gossiped from node to node all across the globe. Glowing servers everywhere are checking the validity of your signature and your funds, spreading the data like a digital nervous system until the whole network recognizes your pending request. So, where do all these pending requests hang out while they wait to be processed? In the mempool. But let's shatter a huge myth right now. The mempool is often thought of as this polite waiting room where transactions just queue up nicely on a line. It is absolutely not. It is a dark, highly competitive public battlefield. Every single pending trade is visible, unconfirmed, and entirely vulnerable to anyone watching the network. Because at the end of the day, block space is an auction. It's literally an auction. The EIP 1559 network upgrade completely shaped how this works. When you have high demand, say a massive token launch is happening, transactions compete economically for extremely limited space in a block. The protocol enforces a dynamic base fee that burns ETH based on network congestion, and that forces users to add a priority tip to incentivize validators to pick them. You are essentially bidding for survival in a highly constrained market. And this brutal, cutthroat competition, it gives rise to MEV, maximal extractable value. This is the true hostile reality of the mempool, because the entities building the blocks get to dictate the exact order of transactions. Sophisticated bots constantly scan the mempool to extract profit. They execute sandwich attacks, arbitrage, and front-running at literal machine speed. If they see your trade, they can manipulate the order of transactions right around yours to pocket a spread, leaving you with a noticeably worse execution price. If you want to understand the staggering scale of this hidden game, just look at this number, $6 billion. That is the estimated value captured and removed through congestion costs alone since the EIP 1559 upgrade in August 2021. The blockchain protocol itself has internalized massive amounts of value just from the sheer friction and demand of users desperately trying to get their transactions processed. So who's actually down there profiting on the ground floor? Well, welcome to the sandwich bot economy. Recent data shows there are about 515 active sandwich bots on Ethereum, and they're executing roughly 95,000 attacks a month. But here is the most fascinating part of all this. Roughly 70% of those attacks are controlled by just one single entity, known as Jared from Subway. It's this hyper-competitive niche where the average profits per attack are now incredibly thin, or talking around $3, but the sheer volume is just relentless. Which brings us to Section 1, the hidden coordinators and the proposer-builder separation. This intense extraction economy basically forced the network to evolve, creating a hidden supply chain that operates completely out of sight to build the blockchain, block by block. It's a highly specialized 5-step pipeline. Step 1. The user submits an intent via their wallet. Step 2. Searchers monitor the mempool, hunting for MEV opportunities and creating profitable bundles. Step 3. Specialized builders take those bundles and construct the most lucrative full blocks possible. Step 4. Relayers act as trusted intermediaries, verifying the blocks and running an auction. And finally, Step 5. The validator simply proposes the winning block. So the really crucial takeaway here is seeing how user intents become bundles and then full blocks before a validator even gets involved. The validator, the decentralized node we usually picture running the network, actually signs the most profitable block header entirely blind. They literally don't even see the contents of the block until after they've already committed to proposing it to the network. And this whole pipeline creates a fascinating trade-off. On one side, we have our decentralized validators. Their primary focus is consensus security, and the network is designed to allow hundreds of thousands of them to participate pretty easily. On the other side, though, you have centralized builders. Their focus is purely on transaction ordering and profit extraction, which requires massive computational resources, specialized algorithms, and private order flows. Which brings up a really necessary pause here. I mean, how decentralized is all this, really? It is the ultimate centralization paradox of crypto. Yes, we rely on a wonderfully diverse set of validators for final security, absolutely. But the actual construction of the blocks, the routing through RPC gateways, the relays managing the auctions, much of this vital, invisible infrastructure is heavily concentrated among a very few highly sophisticated entities. Moving on to Section 2, Layer 2 scaling and the future system. To try and fix these massive bottlenecks on the main chain, a lot of computation is moving off-chain to Layer 2 rollups like Arbitrum and ZK Sync. But scaling requires introducing an entirely new stack of hidden infrastructure. A perfect example is how finality works across these different layers. On Layer 1 Ethereum, you have hard finality. It takes roughly 12 minutes or 2 epochs for a transaction to be cryptographically irreversible. But on Layer 2 rollups, you interact with an entity called a sequencer. The sequencer gives you instant soft finality. Your transaction feels instantaneous, but under the hood, the sequencer is really just batching it up to be settled on Ethereum later for that hard security. But the architecture is evolving at a breakneck pace to protect users and improve fairness. Looking at the future infrastructure, we're seeing the development of encrypted mempools, where transaction contents are actually hidden until they're included in a block, which prevents that predatory front-running. We're also seeing pushes for decentralized sequencing, the integration of zero-knowledge proofs for privacy, and AI-driven routing in those RPC nodes to optimize global network traffic. Which brings us to our final thought. As we've seen throughout this explainer, the blockchain is truly just the surface. Beneath every single transaction lies a massive planetary infrastructure machine. Wallets, APIs, gossip networks, mempool battlefields, builders, bots, and relays. So I'll leave you with this. When that illusion of the confirm button fades away, who truly controls the machine coordinating digital finance underneath? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the systems you interact with every single day.